It's Tuesday, October 7th, 2025, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine. Today, the U.S. Senate Committee on the Judiciary held an oversight hearing for the Department of Justice with AG Pam Bondi testifying. Today marks the second anniversary of Hamas storming into Israel, killing over 1,000 Israelis and snatching hundreds to take as hostages. We're also barreling toward the first full week of the government shutdown with no end in sight, and sectors across the country are starting to feel the pressure. FBI Director Kash Patel fired a number of FBI agents and dismantled what he called a corruption squad after the bombshell news that Biden's investigation bureau unjustly spied on 8 Republican senators. President Trump met with Canadian Prime Minister Carney today in the Oval Office, where they discussed trade and tariffs between the two countries. It's been over 8 months since the Pacific Palisades fires, and there still hasn't been any movement toward rebuilding. Secretary Sean Duffy released a video clip showing the lack of progress. And according to President Trump, Sean Diddy Combs is asking for a presidential pardon. And there's lots more that happened today, so we're just going to dig right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a like if you get a second and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the daily updates. And I might just read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one. And every single article you'll see in the video will be linked in the description below. So this comes from Fox News. This was supposed to be placed into a different order, but I honestly saw it last minute. AG Pam Bondi, she testified. That's what I'm going to get into first. But I did come across this, which is related to her testimony because she was asked a couple of questions with regard to the bombshell that I revealed yesterday, that FBI Kash Patel had shown that Biden's FBI had been spying on 8 different Republican senators. Absolutely crazy. So this is obviously and directly related from Fox News. None of these senators are criminals. They have no criminal activity associated with them whatsoever. FBI Director Patel says the DOJ under the last administration subpoenaed phone records from 8 sitting senators, and it's not just them. So sounds like we're going to get some more information. How many other people did they spy on? Who knows? It could be anything. They are the Democrats after all. Here, let's give this a listen.
Step back and think about it for a second. You have, as you now know, 8 sitting United States senators whose phone records were subpoenaed by the Department of Justice in the prior administration. For what? For what purpose? None of these senators are criminals. They have no criminal activity associated with them whatsoever. Why did the Department of Justice and Jack Smith go in there and authorize subpoenas? And it's not just them, there's others. And so what we're doing in our transparency, in our commitment to transparency and our initiative at FBI and DOJ is putting the records out, providing them to Congress, letting them conduct oversight. But we will also internally investigate those involved. We've already disbanded the Public Corruption Squad at WFO. We've already jettisoned the FBI that were involved in the politicization of law enforcement. And if there needs to be a criminal investigation, you better believe it, we're on it.
I certainly hope so. AG Pam Bondi, I still have a bit of faith left in her. And I honestly didn't have a chance to check out the hearing today. It was about 5 hours, and I am going to link that in the description below. So let me see what it starts with. Okay, so before I get to that, let me play this from Chuck Grassley, who chairs the committee. Also, real quick, I will also show that this is on C-SPAN, the entire hearing with AG Pam Bondi. And she testifies to the Senate Judiciary Committee today. And it says she testified before the Committee on Oversight of the Justice Department. She shared her concerns about law enforcement not being paid due to... Here, let me make this a little bigger for you. That way you can read along. So, not being paid due to the federal government shutdown, and fielded questions on numerous topics, including reports of the Justice Department under President Biden subpoenaing phone records of Republican senators, the current indictment of former FBI Director James Comey by her Justice Department, the legality of deploying the National Guard to American cities, also the Epstein files, the border czar Tom Homan with regard to that $50,000 bribe, which Trump's DOJ, they insist, and also Trump's FBI also insist that he never took the money, that they tried to set him up, Biden's FBI and Biden's government. Anyway, they tried to set him up, and he didn't take the bait. At least that's according to them. Not saying that's definitive. I'm just saying that's the Attorney General's take on it. Also, they're covering political speech amongst other topics in this hearing. So in total, let me just get a link for you. 4 hours and 38 minutes in total here. But this will be linked cspan.org if you want to check it out below. Also, this is on judiciary.senate.gov, the oversight of the Department of Justice. They also have it here, too, if you'd rather watch it over here. This video is 5 hours and 4 minutes. It started at 9 a.m. this morning, of course, because AM is in the morning. And the only witness was Pamela Bondi. You can download her testimony here. It's a PDF. It's like 3 pages or 2.5 pages if you want to check that out also. So let's just get straight to this.
Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, who unearthed all of this. And Senator Lummis told us earlier today, Senator, that when the Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, came to Capitol Hill and laid out the surveillance of these 8 senators and 1 House member, they were all utterly gobsmacked.
Yes, for sure.
That's a bombshell.
I first found out about this last Thursday and arranged this meeting for my colleagues, 8 of them, to be briefed by the FBI, and they were totally shocked that Jack Smith, at the time that he was prosecuting Trump as a citizen at that time, so we're talking about the 23-24 time frame. They solicited the phone numbers and who they talked to from these 8 senators. It's a violation of privacy. We're getting the FBI to get us further information. They said they'd give us more information by the end of the week. Then I'll have to decide what I'm going to do, but I think I have a reputation for following the facts where they lead us and get to a conclusion. And this information was given to us by a whistleblower. So it just shows you how important it is, people, lower levels in the FBI to...
Well, we got the whistleblower laws for a reason.
On people that were violating the law and breaking all...
Not that they really uphold it very often.
To get this information.
Senator Lummis, when she joined us earlier, alluded to the fact that she believes that there could be more others out there. There could be more targeted members of Congress.
Oh, you know there are.
The GOP
of course there are.
That were targeted here. Do you have any reason to believe that?
I don't, but the FBI is going to follow up on that as a result of our briefing yesterday. That's what they promised, and you can be sure that I'll follow up on it. But right now, I don't know of any more than the 8 people. One of them was a congressman, Kelly.
Look, my big question is, what charges could they bring, and to who? Who could they criminally charge for this? Could they criminally charge Biden? I would somehow doubt it. I don't think that they probably would, because he was the president at the time. But maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm just really curious. Maybe they're probably not prepared to go that far yet. We haven't really got to that point yet. They just want to uncover everything as far as who exactly have they been spying on. We started with 8 senators. Are we going to get into representatives in Congress? And, where does it lead? Trump's extended family? Maybe colleagues of Trump and their extended family. Maybe they spied on the Trump campaign once again. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Congressman Mike Kelly, but the rest of them were all senators, yes.
Senator, you had a very fiery briefing this morning with the Attorney
It's really
General,
odd they would just
Pam
spy on
Bondi,
those
but
senators.
In the middle of that, you were asked a question by the good senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy, about these allegations regarding FBI surveillance. I just want to replay that moment here.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask you a question?
If I can answer it, yes.
Are you going to hold a separate hearing on your whistleblower account of the FBI investigation of 8 United States senators?
I think we need to wait until we see what the FBI can report and whether it's necessary to have a hearing.
You said a moment ago, Senator, that you're hoping to get more information from the FBI, but on your point where you said, and whether it's necessary to have a hearing, I think all of the people who were targeted by this surveillance, they absolutely have a hearing.
Well, yeah.
Yes, but
I would think.
We have to have good information before we have the hearing. It seems to me to wait for the FBI to do its job.
Yeah,
but you can
that's
be
fair.
certain that with Chuck Grassley's reputation,
find out what else they got.
The facts where they lead us, we're not going to leave a stone unturned.
Got it. Senator, appreciate your time today.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught with your pants downers. Because,
right, Virginia Democrat.
Yeah, because for all we know, maybe they might uncover more information that found out that, they were they were spied on for the period of 1 minute and 24 seconds or something. Or perhaps maybe it didn't even get to the point where they were actually listening in on the phones. Maybe the process stopped at some certain point. I highly doubt it. I'm sure they were spying on them, but for how long? For days? For weeks? And why? And what 8? So I have yet to hear what exactly these 8 senators have in common. Why did they specifically pick these 8? Because I don't think that, they're definitely not in President Trump's cabinet right now. And I don't think that they were campaigning directly on his behalf during his 2024 campaign. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Chuck Grassley said we should be getting more information by the end of the week from the FBI. At least he will. I don't know if all of us are going to be getting it just yet, but I'm assuming more is going to come out over the next week or so. So anyway, moving on to the hearing from Mike Lee. Leftists in the streets attack ICE while leftists in office tried to make it easier for them. So I just grabbed some clips from it, of course, being 4 hours long. Not going to be able to watch all of it, so I grabbed some of the highlights that I caught on the X platform, just going through the lists and everything throughout the day. So this came out 8 hours ago. Most of these are going to be at least 8 hours and when they were posted. So let's give this a quick watch.
Hundreds of organized rioters, Senator Lee, are showing up where our ICE officers are. And as you know, they have fireworks, they have gas masks. They don't want our officers to be protected with their identity. Yet
you know what? That's a fair point.
Masks, they're wearing goggles.
That's a good point, actually.
And they're
so it's okay for them to be safe. It's okay for Antifa to be safe.
Yeah. And you know what? I've been watching that stuff. Like I said yesterday, you can go on YouTube and watch live down in Portland, all the shit that's going on, because there's YouTubers down there live streaming all of it. And she's absolutely right. They all wear gas masks. They're all covered up. And they not only wear the gas masks for the pepper spray, but they're also wearing them just to conceal their identity, because that's what Antifa does. They don't want to be identified because they break the law and do all kinds of shit. So, yeah, that seems to make perfect sense that if Antifa, they're going to cover up their faces and try to protect their identities, why can't the federal government do the same thing? That doesn't seem all that fair.
It's okay for those doing the bidding of international violent drug cartels to be safe, but heaven forbid our ICE officers should be safe.
Yep, because Antifa, at the end of the day, not saying they work directly for the Democratic Party, but their antics certainly doesn't hurt the ultimate agenda of the Democratic Party, which seems to be just turn everything upside down, burn it all down to the ground, try to seize as much power as we possibly can in the process, and start this magical communist utopia anew and see where it goes. Which for 99% of us, it would be an absolute dystopia. So, all right, so this is the next one. Senate, Judiciary, Democrats. Matter of fact, I actually got more from Democrats than I got from Republicans. I was trying to get 50-50, but I think I grabbed maybe 1 or 2 more from the Democrat side than from the Republican side. Not really sure, but I don't understand why, but Republicans weren't really posting a whole lot about this hearing today for some reason. It was definitely from the Democrats. They posted a lot of stuff with regard to this hearing, at least clips, different video clips. So this is of Senator Klobuchar. Do you support raising the age to 21 to purchase assault weapons? Bondi, I won't discuss pending litigation. Senator Klobuchar, your views are not pending litigation. Now, I didn't see the whole hearing. I really hope, because you know the antics that Democrats are involved with, I hope they don't chop this up all over the place. Hopefully it's just a straight up 43-second clip where it's uninterrupted, so that way I get to hear what she says. But they do have a pretty bad habit of cutting out way too much information before it starts, cutting out way too much after, and they kind of cherry pick little talking points here and there. Republicans, yes, they do it too, especially, when it comes to Democrat antics. It just seems that the Democrats are way more nefarious at it. But anyway, let's at least give this a try and see.
Illegal guns.
I have 10 minutes.
30,000.
You have given these statistics, and I truly appreciate those statistics. But what I was just trying to get at was something where maybe we could find common ground on a bill that you actually defended in court in a state, which Director Patel seemed open to, and that was looking at, could we at least raise the age to 21 of the purchase of an assault weapon federally, while states look at banning these weapons overall, given these little babies that this gun is used to kill. So we can talk about it later, but that was my question, and you
I don't think that... Are you talking about the transgender shooter that was shooting at the children at the Catholic school? I don't think they used an AR-15, did they? Or I'm sorry, an assault weapon. And plus, there's nothing in the Constitution. Why doesn't Congress amend the Constitution for the Second Amendment? I mean, God forbid, because if we got that far, I mean, God knows what would end up happening to it. But there's nothing in there that says you have to be 18 years old or a legal adult or anything like that. Although we can commonly agree that if you're under the age of 18, probably shouldn't be buying any kind of firearm. Look, a lot of people would even push back against that and say, look, that doesn't say anything in the Second Amendment. It should be absolute. If you want to, look, you can buy guns for your kids. They just can't be in possession of them when they're out and about. I'm sure there's plenty of state laws, probably even in my state in Florida, you have to be, actually, I know for a fact, I believe you have to be 21 years old to possess a handgun in Florida and 18 to possess a rifle in Florida. But here, let me just finish this out.
No, it's pending litigation, Senator.
Okay, but your views on this is not pending litigation. So I really...
All right, well, that didn't really go anywhere. I mean, it's not really, I don't know how that's really related to anything other than the recent shootings, very few of which actually involved a quote-unquote assault weapon or a high magazine capacity rifle, whatever they want to call it. I honestly can't think of one. Look, maybe perhaps at the church shooting in Minnesota, maybe they used an AR-15, but I don't think they did. But maybe they did. You know what? I'll just give it to you and say that they did. But there was also the Charlie Kirk shooting where he used a bolt-action rifle, and then there was the Dallas ICE facility where the bolt-action rifle was used. Not sure about the Mormon church shooting. That may have also been an AR-15. I'm not for sure. But anyway, whatever. I don't want to get too hung up on that because there's quite a few of these to get through. Anyway, Senator Dick Durbin, this soft-on-crime administration cut hundreds of millions of dollars in public safety and crime prevention funds. I mean, it's funny how they want to stand up on that soapbox when they were preaching defund the police for literally years. But now they want to pretend that never even happened. It's hilarious how Democrats have the memory of a goldfish these days.
General, it's my job to grill you. Investigation of your agency.
It's my job to grill you? No, it's not. That's not your job, is to grill people. Your job is to try to find the fucking truth, man. Your job is to get to the bottom of whatever it is you're investigating. To grill? Wow,
it's
man.
Part of my responsibility.
What an asshole.
This committee. You may not like the experience, but others have weathered the storm.
That's pretty revealing as to the state of the Democrats today.
Can you tell me the grants, ranking member, please?
Take a look at the president's budget on HIDTA grants. What happens to it in his proposed budget?
I'd be glad to meet with you on the
It's
grants.
cut by 1/3 from $300 million to $196. That's one example of a grant that works. And your administration has suggested cutting it in the budget lies ahead.
Okay, well, I think that's fair. I think she should actually look into it if she's not knowledgeable about it and find out why they're cutting it. Was there rampant fraud or not? Probably not fraud when it comes to, well, maybe. I mean, they are grants at the end of the day. Maybe these grants were going to fraudulent entities, or maybe it was just wasted on nonsense. Maybe they did get to the bottom of it and found out, well, these grants are still important because they cut it by 1/3. Now, if they got rid of it completely, yeah, I would have questions. But if they cut it by 1/3, there's got to be a reason why they cut it by 1/3. It's probably because 33% of that money perhaps is going to certain entities that really don't benefit from it, or I don't know. Who knows, man. Anyway, let's see. Chad Gilmartin, AG Pam Bondi, on Biden's weaponization of government. Operation Arctic Frost was an unconstitutional, undemocratic abuse of power that targeted Republican senators and Republican organizations, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point. Let's take a look.
Chairman Grassley, that's what we've been talking about when we refer to the weaponization of government. Operation Arctic Frost was an unconstitutional, undemocratic abuse of power. During Arctic Frost, the FBI also placed 92 linked Republican individuals and Republican groups, such as Charlie Kirk's Turning Point, on their list.
Whoa. I believe Arctic Frost is in relation to the 8 senators that were being spied on. So she's revealing right now to the extent as to which they were extending this operation, even going as far as to digging into Turning Point. It's so crazy how far Democrats are going these days, making Watergate look like absolutely nothing whatsoever. I mean, just the whole spying on the Trump campaign alone was way worse. getting or tapping their phones and all that shit. Like, that was damn near 10 years ago at this point. And it's crazy. The more that we find out and how far reaching it really is, that they're spying on their opposition. And I haven't heard of anything that the Democrats dug up that the Republicans are spying on them at all. I don't really see that. It's very one-sided, and it lacks any consequences. So really like to see if anything happens as a result of this, but I've got very little faith that anything's going to end up happening.
This is the kind of conduct that shattered the American people's faith in our government, as I said in my opening
one of
statement.
many.
We are ending this weaponization. Our FBI is targeting violent criminals, child predators, and...
No, look, when Democrats get back in, because there probably will come another day when a Democrat will become president, because that's just kind of how it goes. It goes back and forth over the period of time. And if a Democrat gets back into the Oval Office, I'm sure they're going to get right back to this weaponization again, probably ratchet it up even higher, even more especially if there's no indictments, no prison, no nothing as a result of this investigation.
Other lawbreakers, not sitting senators who happen to be from the wrong political party. Several of your colleagues sitting at this dais were targeted, and others. We will continue to stop that throughout the Justice Department. That is the ultimate weaponization of government.
Yeah, it is, man. Spying on your opposition for what reason? What good reason do you have to spy on, especially sitting senators and members of Congress? Why? All right, another one for Chad Gilmartin. Senator Durbin is wrong. AG Pam Bondi, the Justice Department, answered Senator Durbin's letter regarding the Qatari jet on August 12th.
This gift clearly violates the statutory regime enacted by Congress. You've refused to answer a letter I sent to you 5 months ago, asking the legal rationale you relied on to advise President Trump to accept this unprecedented gift from your former legal client. Can you make a promise today that you will disclose that?
All right. Again, I wish they would have added a little bit more to that. I'm not too knowledgeable about the whole Qatari jet thing. I don't know if they're refitting it to make it like a Air Force One or something. I don't think so. I don't know. I really don't know a whole lot about it. I just know it was a gift, but I don't think it was a gift to Trump himself. I think it was a gift to the government, but maybe it was a gift to him. I honestly don't know for sure. Anyway, so Senate Judiciary Democrat Senator Schiff, you've refused to answer questions about ethics, the Qatari plane, the Epstein files, Tom Homan's alleged bribery, political prosecutions, and military authorization. Bondi, she tries to interrupt. Schiff, excuse me, this is an oversight hearing. We demand answers. It's kind of a long one, but to be fair, I'll play out both sides. What the fuck was that in the background? Hold on a minute. They said you took a $50,000 in cash in a bag, and then he said, "I did nothing criminal." I think there's a lot between these lines here that you actually failed to include. I didn't see this interview with Lauren Ingram, but at least the Department of Justice had said that they looked into it and they found no wrongdoing, that he didn't take any money. And in fact, it looks like the Democrats may be criminally, or they could be criminally charged for trying to set him up, entrapment or some shit like that.
I think it's valuable that the American people get a sense of what you've refused to answer today. So these are just some of the questions you refused
Ongoing
to answer.
Investigations,
or have answered
probably
with
won't
personal
talk about
attacks
it.
on members of this committee. You were asked whether you consulted with career ethics lawyers, as you promised you would do during your nomination hearing, when you approved the president receiving a $400 million gift from the Qataris. You refused to answer that question. You were asked who or what role you may have played, or who played the role in asking that Trump's name be flagged in any of the Epstein documents gathered by the FBI. You refused to answer that question.
Yeah, that sounds like that Democrats are really going to fall on their face over this, because it suggests so far, I don't think anything definitive has come out yet, but it's starting to suggest that Trump was involved with Epstein, but he was used as an FBI informant, and he actually reported to the FBI anything that he saw that may have been going on during his time as a member with or his membership with Mar-a-Lago or something like that. Like, apparently the only involvement Trump had with regard to Jeffrey Epstein was that he was giving information to the FBI against Jeffrey Epstein, fucking wild, man. I hope we get to the bottom of that and it actually turns out that's exactly the case, because that would be fucking hilarious, man.
You were asked whether Holman kept the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman paid taxes.
Okay, well, she should have answered that one, because from what I've heard, he didn't take the money, and that was definitive. He didn't take any money. They tried to give it to him, and he absolutely refused to take it. That's what I heard.
The $50,000 bribe money, you refused to answer that question. You were asked, did career
She probably answered it, though.
find insufficient evidence to charge James Comey?
She probably didn't answer it in the way he wanted her to. See how the games
You
they
were
play?
asked, how are military strikes on these boats in the Caribbean legal? And you refused to even answer that question.
What does that have to do with AG Pam Bondi? Wouldn't that have to do with, I don't know, like the Pentagon or the Department of Defense, or well, Department of War? Or maybe that's more of a Congress matter. I'm not sure how the Department of Justice would have oversight over the military targeting of narco terrorists that are trying to transport drugs into the United States. And even still, why the fuck would you have a problem with that? Do you have any idea how many like thousands of kilos that they've blown out of the water that we're trying to get to the United States? Or at least that's what the government's telling us. They're telling us that these boats are heading to the United States, but I've already had my questions with regard to that, because these boats, they look like speed boats that probably don't have a distance to travel like 1,000, 2,000 miles across the Caribbean Sea to reach American shores. But they might just be traveling to some other island where they're going to transport it to some other, of course, they don't tell us everything as to what's going on with that. They just tell us that they're narco terrorists and they're blowing them up in the water or out just off the coast of Venezuela.
Do you have a law degree?
Excuse me.
Do you have a law degree? I would not be surprised if he does.
Did you discuss indicting James Comey with the president? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did you approve the firing of antitrust lawyers who disagreed with
She's not as good as Kash Patel, man. Kash Patel was just absolutely eviscerating all of them. That was amazing.
You were asked whether you support a restoration fund for violent insurrections to attack the Capitol on January 6th. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you were firing career professionals, career prosecutors, just because they worked on January 6th investigations. You refused to answer that question. You were
they were
asked
politically
by my
motivated.
California colleague whether you believe government officials, like immigration officials, have to abide by court orders. You wouldn't even answer that question.
I'm sure, because it probably depends on a number of factors. That does not sound like a black and white question. If certain members have to abide by court orders with regard to immigration enforcement, I'm sure there's instances where they don't, and I'm sure there's instances where they might.
This is supposed to be an oversight hearing.
Oversight?
Excuse me.
Oh, my God.
You can attack me after my time is over.
You've attacked all of us, including President Trump, for your entire
You can attack me later,
career.
and I know you've got plenty of canned attacks. We've heard them
I'm
all
starting to cringe a little.
Canned attacks on you?
This is supposed to be...
No one needs a canned attack on you.
Regular order, Madam Chair. I'm trying to speak. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing of the Justice Department. And it comes in the wake of an indictment called for by the president of one of his enemies. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing, and it comes in the wake of revelations that a top administration official took $50,000 in a bag, and this department made that investigation go away.
Yeah, but there's also a big question that if Democrats are even more guilty for entrapment on that matter.
This is supposed to be an oversight hearing when dozens of prosecutors have been fired simply because they worked on cases investigating the former president. This is, and now
what
the current
about the
president.
fires in California?
And
Do you
this
care
is
about that,
supposed to be. This is, excuse me. This is supposed to be
Fair
an
point.
oversight hearing.
Not the right venue for that.
In which
But I get it.
members of Congress can get serious answers to serious questions about
Are the riots in LA serious?
About the cover-up of corruption. About
Okay, she might have something to say about that.
prosecution of the president's enemies. And
I think you owe the president an apology.
When will it be
Your entire career,
that the
frankly.
members of this committee on a bipartisan basis demand answers to those questions?
All right, whatever. That was just boring as hell. He really wasn't going anywhere with that. There was no bombshells he was going over. It was just random questions. They weren't ridiculous questions, but they were just, that was a waste of time. Anyway, Senate Judiciary Republicans. AG Pam Bondi addresses Chairman Chuck Grassley's bombshell discovery that the Biden FBI was spying on Republican senators. And she gives a quote. I'll just play it.
As to ending the weaponization of justice, we learned that former FBI secretly investigated you and your colleagues. Why? They wanted to take President Trump off the playing field. They were playing politics with law enforcement powers and will go down as a historic betrayal of public trust. This is the kind of conduct that shatters the American people's faith in our law enforcement system.
All right, let's move on. It looks like that's all I got, actually, from the hearing. And again, I'll link the entire thing on cspan.org. You can watch the whole thing right here. Also on the Judiciary website, if you'd rather watch it there. I would probably watch it at C-SPAN, but that's just me. So anyway, I'm going to move on to the next thing. FBI Director Kash Patel, they tracked the communications of GOP senators. They weaponized law enforcement against the American people. That era is over. Yeah, for now. We fired those who acted unethically, dismantled the corrupt CR-15 squad, and launched an investigation. Transparency and accountability aren't slogans, they're promises kept. And we've got an article that he linked to more info on... Nope, not on his. Don't want to go there. No, I want to go to the... Yeah, here we go. FoxNews.com. FBI fires agents, dismantles corruption squad after probe unveils monitoring of GOP senators. Patel says transparency is important and accountability is critical. FBI Director Kash Patel said. The FBI has already terminated employees and abolished the CR-15 squad just one day after it was revealed that several Republicans' private communications and phone calls had been tracked. FBI Director Kash Patel on Tuesday announced the actions the Bureau had taken in response to the revelation of the baseless monitoring during the Biden administration and promised more actions to come. Quote, "We are cleaning up a diseased temple 3 decades in the making, identifying the rot, removing those who weaponize law enforcement for political purposes and those who do not meet the standards of this mission while restoring integrity to the FBI. I promised reform and I intend to deliver it," Patel said in a statement to Fox News Digital. And he also posted on X saying, "Transparency is important and accountability is critical. We promise both, and this is what promises kept looks like. We terminated employees, we abolished the weaponized CR-15 squad, and we initiated an ongoing investigation with more accountability measures ahead." I really hope they come out with more information about this. I'd really be curious to see what exactly they were going after with regard to that and how politicized that really was. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino replied to the post and echoed Patel's message, writing, "We promised you transparency and accountability. We will continue to deliver on those promises. You deserve better." The CR-15 squad was the FBI's Washington Field Office's public corruption unit. Here we go. The squad helped former special counsel Jack Smith investigate President Donald Trump, according to NBC News, which cited sources familiar with the matter. On Monday, Fox News learned that Smith allegedly tracked the private communications and phone calls of nearly a dozen Republican senators with regard to the January 6th Capitol riots. Trump reacted to the revelation on Tuesday and slammed Smith in a post on Truth that read, "Deranged Jack Smith got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, a real sleaze bag." And a document reviewed by Fox News Digital on Monday revealed that Smith and his Arctic Frost team investigating January 6th were allegedly tracking the phone calls of GDP senators, and we've got them all listed right here. I just went over them the other day. So we got Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, Ron Johnson, Josh Hawley, Cynthia Loomis, Bill Hagerty, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, and Mike Kelly. The document, recently discovered by Patel and exclusively obtained by Fox News Digital, is titled Cast Assistance and dated September 27th of 2023. So let's see. CAST refers to FBI's Cellular Analysis Survey Team. The case ID is marked in the document as Arctic Frost Election Law Matters Sensitive Investigation Matter. And that's right here. Again, like everything else, I'll link it down below if you want to take a look at this. I did read that on yesterday's episode. Additionally, though, it states the names of the lawmakers and that an FBI special agent on Smith's team conducted preliminary toll analysis on the toll records associated with the lawmakers. The FBI official told Fox that Smith and his team tracking the senators were able to see which phone numbers they called, the location the phone call originated, and the location where it was received. A source said the calls were likely in reference to the vote to certify the 2020 election. Looks like, yeah, that's it. All right, there you go. Getting heated. So I'm going to move on to the next thing we got. And this is remembering October 7th. 2 years ago today, Hamas launched a barbaric and unprovoked assault on Israel, slaughtering innocent men, women, and children, then parading their victims' bodies through the street in celebration. This evil cannot stand, and anti-Semitism must be outright condemned and confronted. Israel has every right to defend itself, and I'm grateful President Trump has taken decisive action to restore peace, return the hostages, and end Hamas's reign of terror through an emerging ceasefire and peace deal. I remain committed to supporting President Trump's work to ensure an atrocity like October 7th, 2023 never happens again. And that came from Rep. August Pfluger. And I'm sure Trump kept saying in his True Social post that we need to get this done fast. We have to act fast as far as getting the hostages released, because he didn't come out and say it, at least not as far as I saw. But I think he wanted the hostages released today just because of the whole marking the anniversary and everything. Like, it would have just tied it up a lot nicer, and it would have been more dramatic, I think, if that were to happen. But I don't believe they've been released just yet, but they're still working on it. Last I heard, Hamas, they're still in Egypt ironing out the details of their surrender. So I'm still waiting to see what happens with that. And this comes from the White House just now in the Oval Office, well, 8 hours ago. I think there's a possibility we could have peace in the Middle East. Trump on peace in Gaza. Literally every country in the world has supported the plan. Let's hear this from President Trump.
Very serious negotiations to, I guess you could say, depending on the way you count, 3,000 years. You could say 500 years. You could say, but that it's been raging for a long time. And I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately, etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody that hasn't, actually, not that I've seen.
All right. Well, I'm assuming that Canada is on board with it. That's the Prime Minister Carney. And on the other hand, though, Canada and some other countries, they voted to recognize Palestine as a sovereign nation or something like that. I might be getting that a little wrong. I'm pretty sure that Canada did vote on that. That had to do with the UN Assembly and all that shit. Anyway, the White House must read from the Ohad Ben Ami on Fox News. From October 7, captivity to freedom. President Trump saved me, and I believe he can free the remaining hostages. And let me just double check this. Should be an article here. Yeah, okay, so here we go. From the October 7th, captivity to freedom. President Trump saved me, and I believe he can free the remaining hostages. Let me see if there's a video. Let's see. Trump with talks. You know what? I'm going to play this real quick just because I haven't heard his take on it just yet today, other than that video that he had with Carney in the Oval Office.
We got a Fox News alert. Minutes ago, President Trump has just arrived back at the White House and spoke to reporters. Here's what he had to say.
Are you willing to set a deadline for Hamas to release the hostages?
Yeah, we're going to very quickly.
Deadline.
We had some very good meetings. The countries of the world, a lot of the countries surrounding Israel, frankly, Muslim, Arab, and many others, have had great meetings with Hamas, and it looks like it's working. So we'll wait for a little while, see how it all turns out.
When will the administration begin firing?
I think it'll work very quickly. I think it's going to go very quickly. The meetings seem to be very good. We'll find out. We'll let you know soon.
When will the administration begin?
The rebels in DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, they continue to kill
in Congo?
Yeah, they continue to
Well, we're looking into that. We've heard
What
that.
about the ceasefire?
We're going to look at that, yeah.
Mr. President, you said there was an attack yesterday night in the Caribbean. Could you give more details about that?
My people will give you those details.
Oh, wait, there's another strike
In
the Caribbean?
Federal employees during this government shutdown.
That's taking place right now, and it's all because of the Democrats. The Democrats are causing the loss of a lot of jobs with their, it's a shutdown. It's their shutdown, not our shutdown. It's their shutdown.
What agencies?
No, Republicans voted to keep it open.
What's the Presidential Walk
voted
of
for the
Fame?
spending
You know
bill.
that? Have you seen it's beautiful, isn't it? Presidential Walk of Fame. Thank you very much. Again, congratulations
Yeah, take a look at
to
Biden's
the
picture.
Navy. They did a great job today. Thank you very
All right.
much.
And he was rapid fire in answering those questions.
We got
no,
Fox News alert. Minutes ago, President
No, I don't want to play it again. Damn it. All right. Yeah, man, he was answering those quick. By the way, the Presidential Walk of Fame, if you have a chance to check it out online, it's got all of the presidents, of course, on a part of the walkway. I think it's by the West Wing. And Joe Biden's picture is not of Joe Biden. It's of the auto pen machine signing Joe Biden's name. I thought when they were showing it initially, the video that I saw of it, I thought that it was going to be just pointing out the hilarity that Joe Biden is sandwiched in between two pictures of Trump. But no, they went a totally different direction, and they just included an image of the auto pin machine. So anyway, this is in regard to this man who was taken hostage by Hamas, and he was held hostage for 491 days. So anyway, 2 years ago on October 7th, I was kidnapped from my home in Kibbutz Be'eri in my pajamas by Hamas terrorists. My wife, Raz, and I were ripped from our lives and dragged into Gaza. I was released in February of 2025 after 491 days in captivity, but 48 hostages remain in Hamas's hands. My nightmare is not over. It won't be over until they all come home. And now, finally, there is hope. President Donald Trump has brought forth a historic deal to bring all 48 hostages home, the living and the deceased, to end this war and end the suffering for our people. After so much pain, we finally have a real chance. But with that hope comes fear. We have seen opportunities collapse before. The deal has not been signed yet. I know what is at stake. I know what those hostages are enduring right now because I lived it. I believe I actually have a video clip of this too, by the way. So 2 years have passed since Hamas terrorists invaded our homes, murdered hundreds of innocent people, and kidnapped men, women, and children, and the elderly. That Shabbat morning started like any other. By the end of the day, Roz and I were hostages. When Roz was released in November of 23, I thought maybe my turn would come soon. Instead, I was taken to the tunnels 30 meters underground in total darkness with no air, barely any food or water, no medical care. This became my life for over a year. Fuck, man. I wasn't alone down there. I was held with 5 other hostages, Elkanah Bobat, Maksum Harkin, Segev Kalfan, Yosef Ohana, and Bar Cooperstein. They became like sons to me, and I became a father figure to them. We needed each other to survive. The 6 of us shared a cell meant for 3. We dug with our bare hands in the dirt to make places to sleep. Every request from our captors required hours of discussion among ourselves because the consequences were severe. Ask for pita bread and get refused. They would beat us, forbid us from asking for anything for 2 weeks. So we deliberated carefully. Everyone had a voice, and we voted. Well, plus that was just simply a way to pass the time, too, I'm sure. I was afraid for my life every single day. Hamas told us clearly if the IDF gets close, they will shoot us at point-blank range. Once, a terrorist forced me to decide which hostages would get a bullet in the head and which in the knee. Oh my God, dude. For hours, they made us beg for our lives, shaking and crying. On day 270, terrorists stormed in and beat us for 3 days straight. One guard told me, I hate you. If they order me to kill you, I won't use a gun. I'll use a knife. God damn, these motherfuckers, man. As time passed, we started to lose hope. That's when survival becomes almost impossible. What gave me strength was seeing our people back home fighting for us. And just knowing that if they sign this peace deal, that all of these fuckers are going to get amnesty. They're just going to be given their freedom, and they're going to be allowed to travel to whichever country they want that's willing to accept them. It's just fucking appalling. But I mean, I guess there's really no other way because they got the upper hand, at least with regard to the hostages. So he goes on to say, I was released in February of 25. I have lost 77 pounds. In those first days of freedom, everything felt unreal, but one moment stands out. I had the profound honor of meeting President Trump, the man who saved me, who made it possible for me to be reunited with my wife and daughters. He expressed his unwavering commitment to bring all the hostages home. I thank him for my freedom and for never giving up on those still in captivity. If anyone deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, it is him for everything he has done for us and for continuing to fight to make sure all the hostages come back home. I would, even in the face of all of this, I would still be surprised if they gave him the Peace Prize, but he is 100% correct. With all these peace deals he's made, there is no other person that deserves it more than President Trump, hands down. But freedom doesn't mean the nightmare is over. I still wake up at night and touch the walls, checking that they're not concrete, that I'm not in the tunnels. But then I remember they are still there. When I open the refrigerator and take out food, I think about how they have nothing. So yeah, so that's an image of him right here, the guy who's telling the story. In a cruel propaganda video released by Hamas months ago, Elkanah and Yosef spoke directly to me, begging me to do everything I can to get them out of hell. Until all 48 hostages come out, the living and the deceased, I cannot continue with my life. And it finishes up here. Since my release, I have witnessed many negotiations come and go. This time it must happen. The world must make sure this deal comes to fruition. I know better than anyone the cost of every additional day in captivity. They won't make it in there for much longer. My friends won't make it in there for much longer. I lived through 491 days of Hamas cruelty. I know exactly what every additional hour means for those still underground. The release of all 48 hostages must come first. The world is watching. Every day matters. Every hour counts. Wow, man. Absolutely just unbelievable. All right, so let's go to the next post here. So this comes also from, so that came from the White House. This one does too. Today, on the second anniversary of the October 7th attack, President Trump welcomed Aiden Alexander, who was held hostage by Hamas for 584 days, and the family of Omer Nutra to the Oval Office. President Trump is committed to bringing every hostage home. And there's the images here of, the hostages that were in captivity. I'm honestly not sure which one, who was who. So anyway, I'm going to go on to the next topic here from Newsmax. We have the first opportunity for real peace in this comprehensive peace plan. Senator John Fetterman expressed hope for peace in the Middle East on the anniversary of the October 7th Hamas terrorist attack on Israel. On Tuesdays, The Record with Greta Van Susteren. So we're going to check this out. John Fetterman.
Pennsylvania Democrat Senator John Fetterman
happens
joins
to be the
me.
most
Good
base
evening,
Democrat,
sir.
in my opinion.
I don't know.
Even though I don't have very much respect for him for not wearing a fucking suit, dude. Wear a damn
What's
suit.
going to happen with these negotiations. But I'll tell you one thing. We're never going to hear, and neither is Israel, from Hamas, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, I mean...
that ain't going to happen.
One thing that you're not going to see is a lot of these protesters that have been doing that for the last 2 years, they're not protesting to demand Hamas to accept that peace deal. And I mean, I've watched that video. I've seen that video and those imagery. I've actually visited all those sites and saw that, and they filmed it. They filmed that, and that kind of evil.
Oh yeah, we saw a lot of that shit.
The things they've done.
Pretty much as it was happening.
Children, they've raped women, executed civilians like that.
It still boggles my fucking mind that they were still able to carry this out, that they didn't have the border just guarded at all. It just absolutely blows my mind that they were just capable of even getting into Israel and even doing this in the first place. It's unreal,
man. Have to burn that kind of evil off the face of the earth. Now,
I mean, where the fuck was the IDF when all this was happening? I mean, you'd think they'd be storming in by the thousands, but I guess not.
Proud of it and for those things, so you can't.
What do I know? I don't
with it, and that's why it's entirely appropriate to destroy Hamas and kill all of the leadership that were responsible for it, as they've done.
I think, I've seen the same video. I've walked the same place. You have a different time, and I think that's why you and I are in so much agreement. We're 100% in agreement on this, because I think any decent human being seeing what we saw and watching that tape, I do not see how anyone could possibly have a different view on this.
No, I mean that should be mandatory to watch that. If you're going to protest and for pro-Hamas or these kind of things, watch that video.
Oh yeah,
you really can.
There's a lot of far leftists and Democrats
exactly
are doing
who you are actually advocating,
standing for Palestine,
and the kinds of people that they really are. I've actually walked through
fucking
these
savages.
I had the honor of meeting Noah, that iconic clip of she being pulled away from Nova, and so those are the true heroes. I don't know how all these hostages are able to survive. They've been
it's unreal
now for 2 years. Tortured, beaten, and even forced to dig their own graves. And a lot of the media has normalized this kinds of thing. I'll never understand how we all can't just be very clear. We're going to stand firmly with Israel's side, and all of the trauma in Gaza.
Your party. It's your party, man.
For Hamas to surrender, send all of them home, and there'd be an opportunity for real peace, but they refuse to do that, because it is nothing more than a death cult. And now it's just the point. That's why you have to destroy it.
Well, the thing is that everyone, the people who are protesting say they're some of them is, although a lot of them are not, but for Palestinians. And I just don't think I think a lot of people have forgotten things. For instance, I did a little research today because UNRWA, which is the organization the United States has been funding through the United Nations since the late 40s, is that at least 12 UNRWA staff had direct involvement in the October 7th attacks. That's what we financed to try to help feed these people who were living in squalor. There was
That's
at
true.
least there was another hostage held nearly 50 days in the attic of an UNRWA teacher's home who also had a father of 10. And the family was getting fed while this hostage was being starved. There was another one who was held. She was detained in multiple UNRWA facilities in Gaza. She was shot, denied medical care, and it goes on and on. I mean, there were Hamas may have been the starters on this, but there were a lot of sympathizers of Palestinians, and a lot of them were actually helping.
Absolutely.
Oh, of course. I mean, and now you brought up the UN. The UN has just become incredibly anti-Israel throughout all this. It's just crazy.
I know, it's unreal, man.
Absolutely. And now look at a lot of the media outlets as well too, and the way they describe these kind of circumstances. And now again, I can't imagine why we could support this and not just call this exactly what this is. And now.
Well, and your party's pretty unified.
First opportunity for real peace.
They become pretty anti-Israel.
Peace plan,
which is quite ironic because a lot of big-time multi-millionaire, probably billionaire donors happen to be Jewish, and they've been donating to Democrats for many, many years.
As a
kind of blows my mind.
I absolutely support that and actually celebrate that, because here we could actually have a peace. I mean, whether that comes from their current president, just because it's a different party, I'm going to follow Israel, and now this is the first opportunity for real peace and to send all those poor souls home after being held underground for 2 years.
And of course, the poor souls are coming home. Those are the ones from October 7th. Is in order to get them home, Israel's got to release hundreds and hundreds of Palestinian who have been doing unthinkable things. They've had civil trials for murder. One killed 5 people. I mean, they are releasing very terrible people to get those people home.
It's disgusting that Israel is forced to do that. I mean, literally, they are proud, and they killed innocent civilians. But I do hope Israel never forgets, and I hope they take them out at some point as they continue to. So I don't think they ever forget, and they ever forgive what they've done against innocent civilians.
No, I can't blame them.
Well, I hope that nobody forgets, and I hope some people even learn about what happened.
It was like 1,200
before they hit the streets protesting. Senator John Fetterman, thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me. I mean, it's a very sad day, but I'm very proud to remain firmly on the side of Israel.
Well, you know why I call you up? I mean, you know why I want you on the show is because, I know that because you've seen it, and and you have a very powerful position and a very strong voice. So thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me here.
All right, there you go.
People think
very, very awful, and it's really appalling that just knowing that all of these people that are engaged with holding them captive for 2 years are just going to get away with it. They're just going to get away with it. So, and just I can only imagine what they're doing to the hostages right now, just knowing that they're assuming they're going to be released in a few days, and that they're just going to get away, they can do whatever the hell they want to do with the hostages, and they're not going to go to jail for it because they're signing this deal. I don't even want to think about what the fuck they might be doing to them right now. It's just, it's unreal, man. All right. Anyway, so moving on to the situation in Portland. This is from Libs of TikTok. Just in, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem stands on the rooftop at the ICE facility in Portland while anti-ICE protesters yell slurs and shout, "Welcome to the war zone." These people are fucking retards, man. Oh, they got him roped off there.
Welcome to the war zone.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, they got them all up, or they're all up and down this street here.
Peacefully protest, but that we would still be allowed to enforce the law.
Yeah, this sounds atrocious.
It's good to see. Well, see what we can do.
This is absolutely nothing as to what it is at night.
Holy shit.
It's really bad at night. That sun goes down and it gets totally lawless. So
I've heard that. It'd be interesting to be able to do what we can to make sure that never happens.
Well, dude, get on YouTube. You can watch all this shit live at night, every night. Absolutely. Bunch of shenanigans and just morons, man. And they're not rounding them up by the dozens like we thought they were going to. At least that's what the government keeps suggesting that they're going to do, especially Antifa. They show up, they're down there. They're down there in large groups causing shit, and they're not getting arrested. It's just very bizarre. All right, FBI Chicago. So moving over to Chicago. The FBI Chicago and ATF Chicago are offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those involved in these assaults who aided, abetted, or conspired, whether through funding, coordination, planning, or other means. Contact 1-800-CALL-FBI. And they've also got the website link. So it has to do with, looks like a vehicle at the 3700 block of South Kedzie was struck by another vehicle, and apparently they got away. So regarding assaults on federal officers and damage to government property. So yeah, if you got any information on that, that's a lot of money, man. That could pay a lot of bills. All right. Okay, so let's move to Newsmax. Rob Schmidt, what kind of country do Americans actually want to live in? Who wants to live in cities that seem to accept and almost embrace violence and the chaos that comes with it, that designate themselves as sanctuaries for illegal immigrants in the country? Yeah, it really begs the question. There's some people that they've interviewed that I've seen that are just walking the street. Somebody will walk up to them and they're like, are you okay with the crime rate? And they're like, oh, yeah, bring it on. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I hope they stay here forever. It's just like some people are so unbelievably lost. It is absolutely insane how brainwashed that so many people really are right now. Frankly, it's kind of scary, really, but here, let's play
this has become a critical showdown. What kind of country do Americans actually want to live in? Who wants to live in cities that seem to accept and almost embrace violence and the chaos that comes with it?
Yeah, they cheer on the bad guys.
That designates themselves as sanctuaries for illegal immigrants in the country. Please come here with all of your problems and issues after entering the country illegally. Come here and abuse our system and take our resources.
Yeah, but not only that, let's pay for all of them. Let's give them the health care and the food and pay their utilities and their rent and everything else. Let's just completely take care of them. And it's okay because if we're paying for it with state funds, the federal government will reimburse us one way or another because it seems like that's exactly what they're doing. So I don't know if the Trump administration or if maybe it'd be an act of Congress to try to start cutting large amounts of federal funding to states like Illinois and other states. I'm not sure if that would really be possible or not, but it's something they should absolutely be looking into doing.
Who wants to live in that place? Do Americans want to be governed by people who refuse to implement policies that they know will make?
Well, I guess we'll see if they'll win the re-election.
Democrats have done for years.
Are they going to keep voting for him? Probably, unless the elections are rigged.
To do it.
Which they probably
know
are.
What it takes. They know it takes more cops and stronger laws and more support. They just won't do it. They'd rather just let, as I always say, the black bodies pile up on the sidewalk downtown. How much more can we actually take from the seemingly suicidal left, which has brainwashed its supporters into attacking those who do a job that every sophisticated first world country now employs, which is immigration enforcement? You know, everybody's
absolutely.
The same stories, the same
yep, they've lost their fucking minds. Supposedly, the mayor of Chicago only has a 6% approval rating, and if that's the case, then why the hell would they even vote for him again? How the hell did they even win in the first place is just beyond me, which just makes me wonder, are they actually potentially rigging elections down on the local level? Would not surprise me. So when is he up for re-election? I really don't know. Because I know, like, Lori Lightfoot, she just left, what, like a year or two ago or something like that. 2027. Wow, man. It's got a little ways to go. Next Chicago mayoral election scheduled for that date following the 4-year cycle from the 2023 election with the potential runoff if no candidate wins a majority. All right. Well, I'm glad I don't live there. It'd be a nightmare. So this comes from Homeland Security. Governor Pritzker is doing everything in his power to protect criminal illegal aliens and domestic terrorists. He continues to shamelessly lie about the brave men and women of federal law enforcement and their targeted operations. Here are just a few of the disgusting lies told by Governor Pritzker recently. Let's take a look at some of these. think there's like 3 or 4 of them. So here's one Pritzker lie, according to Homeland Security, which is their official government profile. You can tell by the gray badge right there that indicates that it's the government profile for Homeland Security. Quote, "This is an unconstitutional invasion of Illinois by the federal government. For weeks now, Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Gregory Bovino have brought their militarized CBP and ICE agents to the streets of Chicago to cause violence and chaos in the city." I mean, it sounds like it's straight out of a cartoon. Like the feds are just showing up just to what, like smash windows and kidnap people and like, you know, firebomb buildings and shit. It's just cartoonishly stupid. Anyway, facts. This is neither unconstitutional nor an invasion. President Trump has the authority under the Constitution to deploy troops wherever they're stationed to defend federal facilities from attacks. And see, therein lies the problem. So they can defend federal property, but when it comes to the city itself, so how are they going to be able to go after, and well, okay, so maybe Antifa might be different because if it's a terrorist organization, then they may have the authority to go beyond the federal property to do so. But aside from that, if there's like a large mob of people in Chicago and they start causing shit at the ICE facility, but then they just run down the street, they're not on federal property anymore. Can they still go after them and arrest them? And I think that's why they need Chicago police's assistance and why they keep asking for it. And of course, they're not going to get that. So anyway, whether it's the ICE facility in Broadview or the courthouse in Portland, we will defend federal property wherever they are under siege. The next one, Pritzker lie, they're raiding neighborhoods where instead of going after bad guys, they're just picking up people who are brown and black and then checking their credentials. Facts, since Operation Midway Blitz began in Illinois last month, ICE and CBP officers have arrested more than 1,000 illegal aliens, including the worst of the worst pedophiles, child abusers, kidnappers, Trinidad Iroquois gang members, and murderers. Allegations that DHS law enforcement officers engage in racial profiling are false. What makes someone a target for immigration enforcement is if they are illegally in the U.S., not their skin color, race, or ethnicity. And we even have a video
this
for
is
this
Carlos Roman Barrera. He was arrested for aggravated sexual assault of a child who's a family member and also convicted of DUI.
And Democrats are fighting to keep them in the country, probably because they've already registered them as a Democrat.
Then you've got Juan
Same
Manuel
with this
Gasper
asshole.
Nochebuena,
And this
a sexual
dickbag.
predator from Mexico convicted of criminal sexual abuse of a child. Todd, it's hard to believe any politicians out there would want these guys in their communities, but I guess we live in strange times because Mayor Johnson and Governor Pritzker want ICE gone, and they apparently want these guys to stay there in Chicago. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Bill, it's amazing that people would want to go ahead and wrap their arms around these child sex offenders instead of wanting to work with us to remove these public safety threats. It's really
Well, the radical leftists and the radical the progressives, they are trying to normalize that. What is that acronym? MAPS, M-A-P-S, which stands for minor attracted persons. They want it to be taboo and maybe even a form of hate speech to refer to somebody as a pedophile. No, they're not to be referred to as a pedophile. They are a minor attracted person because they want to not only normalize it, they want to make it perfectly fine.
disgusting in the fact that any elected official would want to go
Because
ahead
these people
and keep
are
a
in a
child sex
fucking
offender,
cult, man.
a predator, a registered child molester in their neighborhoods. There's just no reason for it. There's no reason not to work with ICE to remove these public safety threats. And unfortunately, the only thing they're doing is stoking the fire against the men and women of ICE that are out there doing a public safety mission. You know, we're going to be transparent. We're going to go ahead and keep posting every day the worst that we are getting.
And they are. They really
the people
are.
of Chicago and the people of the United States need to know exactly what ICE is doing. What I really wish is that elected officials, like the governor and the mayor, would go ahead and wrap their arms around the families of angel moms and dads, much like the family of Katie Abraham, who we're doing this operation for, right? You know, you had 2 sex offenders right there that also were convicted of DUIs. A DUI took Katie and her best friend's life. That's who we are out for every day, fighting for the people of Chicago and the people of the United States to keep these heinous offenders off the street.
Yep, and they've completely politicized the whole damn thing. The stupid fucking Democrats have. So I'm going to jump over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement real quick. So let's take a look and see if they've got any profiles on here. Because anytime I come or I visit this profile, they actually list. Yeah, see, so here's one. ICE Chicago apprehended Austrian criminal Oh, wait, that was back on October 5th. Stefan Szivi, a convicted child sex offender with decades-long criminal record that includes so on and so forth, just atrocious things. Yeah, so there's another one. And there's another one. So, yeah, they're posting on the regular, people that they're catching. I'm sure they're not posting each and every single one. They're just posting the worst of the worst. And it's not just ICE. It's also Homeland Security and... what was the other one? Border Patrol. I think Border Patrol, they're also posting stuff too if they come across anyone. So yeah, there's another one. This dude's getting on the plane. They're deporting him. And yeah, so you get the idea. But yeah, if you want to visit this profile, they're usually posting people that they're catching. There's another one. There's another one. But all right, so let's go back to this one from Homeland Security, the Pritzker lie. People are getting detained. They're getting arrested. U.S. citizens. They did this when they raided a building in the middle of the night in South Shore. 130 people. They were emptied out of this building. They were going after a few gangbangers, and instead they broke windows. They broke down doors. They ransacked the place. They were the ones that were making it a war zone. And the fact is that ICE does not arrest or deport U.S. citizens. Any U.S. citizens arrested are because of obstructing or assaulting law enforcement, obviously. Law enforcement conducted a targeted operation at an apartment building in South Shore community of Chicago because of Tren de Aragua. This operation resulted in the arrest of 37 illegal aliens. Among them were Tren de Aragua gang members and violent criminals. That was absolutely wild, man. They even brought in a helicopter, and they were jumping out of the helicopter on those ropes. They were just, like, propelling themselves down to the ground. It was like straight out of a movie, man. That was absolutely crazy. And the next Pritzker lie, there were people who were held, elderly people and children zip-tied. Elderly people held for 3 hours at a time. And let's see, facts. Children were never zip-tied. This claim originated from a viral parody video on TikTok. The officer in the video was the father of the toddler seen in the image. So this is the image that they were circulating around from Bill Malugan. This post and allegation are fake and false. That's not even an ICE agent or any kind of federal agent. It's a screenshot from a TikTok video in July, compilation on juvenile crime. The child in cuffs was a parody, but Cato's David J. Beer couldn't bother to do 20 seconds of research. Well, no, they did the research. They found out it was fake, but it fits their agenda. And it's to just demonize ICE all up and down. So, of course, they knew that this was fake. They just wanted to run with it anyway. It was apparently too tantalizing of an opportunity to demonize ICE when tensions are at an all-time high. Democrats have brought David in to testify on Capitol Hill multiple times regarding immigration matters. All right. And let's see, we got a couple more. Pritzker lie on September 12th. ICE shot and killed a man in Franklin Park, a nearby suburb of Chicago. His name was Silverio Villegas Gonzalez. Reports say that he had just dropped his kids off at a daycare and was headed to work. The facts, though, Silverio Villegas Gonzalez was an illegal alien who, when law enforcement ordered him to stop his car, instead he drove his car at the officers. I played this video a few weeks ago when they posted it. I put it on the swamp. One of the ICE officers was hit by the car and dragged a significant distance. Fearing for his own life and broader public safety, the officer fired his weapon. Despite his injuries, the officer and his partner immediately started administering emergency medical care to the illegal alien, who was pronounced dead. Villegas Gonzalez, who was the target of the operation, was a criminal illegal alien with a history of reckless driving. And another Pritzker lie. In the small suburban village of Broadview with a population of 8,000, federal agents have turned two blocks of protest areas into a war zone by firing tear gas and chemical agents at peaceful protesters. And the facts, rioters in Illinois have been anything but peaceful. Over the weekend, Border Patrol law enforcement officers were ambushed by domestic terrorists that rammed federal agents with their vehicles. One woman, Marimar Martinez, driving one of the vehicles, was armed with a semi-automatic weapon. There it is again, semi-automatic weapon. It was a handgun. And has a history of doxing federal agents. She took defensive fire from CBP agents, has been discharged from the hospital, and is currently in the custody of the FBI. The driver of another vehicle, Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz, involved in the ramming, has been apprehended by law enforcement. And there's the two assholes right here. ICE agents boxed in by 10 cars near Chicago as protests grow. 5 more arrests made. And one more. Pritzker lie. Peaceful protesters have been hit with tear gas and shot with rubber bullets. Journalists simply reporting the facts on the ground have been targeted and arrested. U.S. citizens, including children, have been traumatized and detained. This escalation of violence is intentional and premeditated. The Trump administration is following a playbook, causing chaos, creating fear and confusion. The facts: the First Amendment protects speech and peaceful assembly, not rioting. DHS has taken reasonable and constitutional measures to uphold the rule of law and protect our officers. And this post from Secretary Noem: our brave men and women of law enforcement are being targeted and attacked by violent anarchists who seek to tear down America. I want each and every member of law enforcement to know this. President Trump and I have your backs. Stand with ICE as they continue to protect and defend our homeland. And there we go. Thank you for your service. And we've got other comments. Disgraceful, embarrassing. Oh yeah, for an elected official to talk that way about law enforcement. So yeah, I'm sure there's quite a bit of support in the comments with regard to all that. And moving on to Commander Op at Large, I'm assuming that's California, or CA Gregory. Let me just get a full view here. Gregory K. Bovino in Los Angeles. So let's see what he says here. When violent gangs can plot to kidnap and kill law enforcement officers in a U.S. city like Chicago, that means they are feeling way too comfortable. Time to make them feel uncomfortable. And he's replying to Homeland Security: depraved individuals who do not value human life and threaten law enforcement do not belong in this country. Thanks to ICE and our federal law enforcement partners, Juan Espinoza Martinez, a member of the Latin King street gang, who placed a bounty on U.S. Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Chief Gregory Bovino, has been arrested. God bless our brave CBP and ICE Gov law enforcement. Let's check out this video.
Absolutely. We do need to get to the bottom of it because, Sean, there's going to be more incidents just like this because it's a war zone out there. Secretary Noem mentioned a bounty on the heads of federal agents, that $2,000 to kidnap, $10,000 to kill senior Border Patrol officials and senior ICE officials here in Chicago. Now, Sean, what happens between the kidnapping and the killing portion? That's something out of a third world country. Is this America? So we do need to get to the bottom of that, and I do believe that
and Democrats are enabling
we'll get some
it.
more clarity on what happened there with the response, and I do think we're going to see additional, better response from Chicago Police Department in talking with Superintendent Schnelling and others.
Yep, and if there is an agent who is assassinated from a hit or kidnapped or something like that, the Democrats are either going to say, "Oh no, that never happened. Where's your proof? Well, there's no proof of that." Or they're going to say, "No, it's just the Trump administration. They're just making it all up. That's not real. That's not actually happening." So there's also a link to an article about Latin King's gang member arrested in Illinois after placing a hit on the commanding officer. So I'll link that also in the description if you want to check that out. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that was him. So that's who it was. All right. Anyway, so CBP, of course, the border is not open. So he's got a statement on the matter.
Buenos días. Les agradecemos su presencia.
Oh, no. It's all in Spanish.
Tengo un mensaje importante.
Okay. Well, I didn't expect that. This isn't very helpful.
La meta del día de hoy es que
do I play it? What do I do here?
Recientemente,
I'll just
las
play it out. Why not?
organizaciones criminales han estado utilizando las redes sociales para afirmar que las fronteras de Estados Unidos están abiertas.
Okay. You know what? I'll just leave it be. If you happen to speak Spanish and you want to know what he ended up saying in the rest of the video, I just reposted it. You can scroll below in the description. I should have a link to my X account if you want to check that out. Anyway, moving on to Homeland Security. We have the most secure border in American history, and our end-of-the-year numbers prove it. September marks the 5th consecutive month with 0 releases by the Border Patrol, along with the southwest border, compared to 9,144 releases in September of 2024. In fiscal year 25, Border Patrol made 237,565 apprehensions, the lowest fiscal year total in 55 years, compared to 201,780 in fiscal year 1970, and 87% below the average of the last 4 fiscal years, which was 1.86 million. Wow. Which is probably what he was talking about. Matter of fact, just let me double check. Is there... Okay, I was wondering if maybe there was an English version of it below, but no. But I'm sure that's probably what he was referencing, but at least I'm assuming. Or maybe a speech about the border being officially closed and nobody's getting through the border, not under President Trump's watch. So this comes from the White House. President Donald J. Trump welcomes Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney to the White House. And it's just him pulling up the meet and greet. He doesn't look like he hates Trump with a passion. I thought he was anti-Trump. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, of course, they got to be asking questions. The press just never relents. You've always got to be asking questions. All right, this comes from NHTSA recalls and ratings. If you happen to drive a Toyota Tundra or a Toyota Hybrid between 2022 and 2025 models, also years 23 through 25 Sequoia hybrid vehicles, they're issuing a lot of recalls, and that is because of the rear view camera image not displaying. So rear view camera. I drive a car from the 90s, so needless to say, I don't have a rear backup camera. I do it the old-fashioned way and just look behind me, or I use my rear view mirror. All right, EIA, U.S. average retail prices for October 6th of 2025. Regular grade gasoline right now is $3.12 a gallon, and the on-highway diesel is $3.71 a gallon. I mean, it's better than it was under Biden, but I'm still not seeing the lowest gas prices in however long Trump was claiming. And I just know, like, back in, when was that? 2019, when gas dropped all the way down to $1.79 a gallon. That was incredible. I want to see gas drop to that price again. So I'll link this as well if you want to look at that. I don't know if that... Yeah, okay, so it does have more statistics with regard to gas prices if you're curious enough to dig through all that. And this comes from Washington Examiner. The White House announced a plan to use incoming revenue from President Donald Trump's tariffs to keep the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children operational during the government shutdown. So the Trump administration is looking to fund WIC with the tariff money. I thought this was a fantastic idea because it's getting really low. Like, they were talking about it completely running out of money, like, within a week. Like, it was supposed to be running out, like, any day now. So the White House announced a plan to use incoming revenue. Okay, so basically I already went over that in the post. Can I get rid of this? Oh, you're not going to let me. Oh, yeah. There it is. See, they make it hard. They make it difficult. The White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, confirmed the creative solution on Tuesday afternoon in a post to X in response to an Axios report on the plan. Quote, the Democrats are so cruel in their continual votes to shut down the government that they forced the WIC program for the most vulnerable women and children to run out this week. I bet the majority of them who vote, they probably vote Democrat, don't they? Leavitt said in a statement, thankfully, President Trump and the White House have identified a creative solution to transfer resources from Section 232's tariff revenue to this critical program. The Trump White House will not allow impoverished mothers and their babies to go hungry because of the Democrats' political games. White House officials warned even before last Tuesday, the first day of the government shutdown, that shuttering the government would negatively affect several social welfare programs favored by Democrats, WIC specifically. Leavitt warned reporters at Monday's White House press briefing that the program will run out of federal money very soon and that it can be easily funded if the Democrats simply vote to reopen the government. Tuesday's announcement comes just days after Trump floated using tariff revenue to construct a bailout for farmers struggling amid the trade wars. I'm going to do some farm stuff this week, Trump said Monday. His top aide suggested last week that the bailout, again pulling from Section 232 tariff revenue, would total some $50 billion. White House officials did not answer questions on Tuesday about the size of the WIC package or if the announcement would delay Trump's promised aid to American farmers. No, probably not. I mean, I don't think that WIC is going to go into the billions of dollars, but I mean, maybe it will. I know there's a lot who are on WIC. All right, DOT rapid response. This is absolutely crazy. If this lady wasn't killed from this happening to her, this is just unreal, man. I saw
Right
this
in
thing.
the kisser.
It was like,
Show
holy
that night
shit.
who's boss.
Oh my God, dude. Absolutely fucking nuts. Let's see that again.
In the kisser. Show that night who's boss.
Like, dude, how would that not fucking kill her? Wow, man. All right. I've already seen that enough. Just absolutely crazy. But yeah, the the meme seems to hold up pretty well. Anyway, GOP benefits for American citizens, Medicaid for illegals. You know, that classic meme, Democrats just veering off, barely missing their turn. So Rapid Response 47, millions of people who rely on food stamps and family aid through programs like SNAP and WIC could be at risk of losing assistance due to the government shutdown. Democrats needlessly caused this shutdown, and they can end it today.
Americans are beginning to feel the impact. Millions of people who rely on food stamps and family aid through programs like SNAP and WIC could be at risk of losing assistance.
Again, overwhelmingly Democrat voters, I imagine.
Programs are relying on reserve funds they hope will last until Congress passes a new spending plan. This is baby Zave. He's now 1.5 and thriving, but his mom, Ashley Vasquez, says that wasn't always the case.
He just didn't have an appetite and he wasn't putting on weight.
Zave was put on special nutritional drinks that his family received through WIC, the federal funded program for women, infants, and children. It provides aid to more than 6 million low-income families to help cover expenses for food, breastfeeding support, and health education.
This is why it's important to try like hell to breastfeed your children.
Shutdown continues.
That is by far the best way to go about it.
Whose sole source of nutrition may be infant formula, the loss of WIC would be absolutely devastating because their families don't have other options.
Nell Manifi-Libby with the
Democrats
National
don't
WIC
give a shit now, do they?
Association says if the government doesn't pass a spending bill within the next 2 weeks, funding will likely run out.
That really puts us in a crisis point very quickly.
Funding for other assistance programs like the Supplement Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP could also be at risk. Roughly 42 million people depend on SNAP to help cover groceries. October's benefits were already sent out, but
million,
come November
dude.
1st, it's unclear whether people will receive assistance.
Well, I know it's not related to the shutdown, but I know that they've rolled out changes to the SNAP benefits that you can only be on food stamps, I think, for 2 years, and under certain circumstances, you have to have a part-time job in order to qualify, which I think is a fantastic idea. Because a lot of them, they've been on food assistance for, in some cases, decades, and they haven't had a job the entire time. They're just getting government benefits and doing absolutely nothing. All right, Senate Democrats. The American people understand that Trump and Republicans are causing this shutdown. They need to negotiate with Democrats to fix this healthcare crisis and reopen the government. Here's Bernie Sanders.
Well, it is clear.
Oh, really quiet.
That this shutdown has got to end as soon as possible. All over this country, the American people are saying, you know what? We can't afford health care now. And you, Mr.
No thanks
Trump,
to Obamacare.
Want to double health care premiums for over 20 million people.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They just want to end the ACA tax credits, which they rolled out during COVID, and they're expiring at the end of November because COVID is over, Democrats.
You want to throw 15
They're playing
million
political
people
games.
off the health care that they have. You're going to destroy
Their fault it's so
a
expensive in the
broken
first
healthcare
place.
system.
Fucking
We're not be able
Obamacare.
to recover from that. And I wish that the Speaker of the House, Mr. Johnson, had not given his members a vacation, taken them out of Washington. In the middle of this crisis, they're not here. That's pretty pathetic. Every poll that I have seen
that sounds like fake
American
news.
people understand that the Republicans are causing this shutdown. They control the White House. They control the Senate. They control the House. They need 60 votes in the Senate.
Yeah,
and when you need 60
they
votes,
do.
you have to negotiate. Up until now, they have not negotiated at all. Their way or the highway.
Because there's nothing to negotiate. They said they have nothing to offer. It's a simple spending plan that they want to pass. But Rand Paul, he's not voting on the CR bill because he says that it's going to add another $2 trillion to the debt. So when I heard him say that, I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, that's a pretty damn good reason. I'm about as anti-national debt as you can possibly get. So when he said that, and if what he's saying is correct, that the CR bill adds $2 more trillion to the national debt, then yeah, I mean, I'm not in favor of passing it either. Actually, I think that should be. How about Republicans negotiate that with Democrats? Like, look, okay, this is what we're bringing to the table. We're going to remove this provision of the CR bill, which adds $2 trillion to the deficit, which I'm sure would have to mean the cutting of a lot more of the government, which obviously the Democrats aren't going to go for. But hey, at least they're negotiating with something. Yeah, let's take more away from the government. Anyway, from the White House, the Democrat shutdown driven by political games has placed countless Americans in great risk. Let's be clear, we wouldn't be in this position if Democrats weren't holding the government hostage with their radical left wish list of demands.
Is it the White House's position that furloughed workers should be paid for their back pay?
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure of that. A lot of people aren't deserving of so many benefits that they receive. So Secretary Sean Duffy, Democrats this week, healthcare for illegals, Democrats, air traffic controllers, you know, that typical meme with the sombrero this time. And Newsmax, President Donald Trump talked tough with the media and the party he rebukes as the shutdown Democrats Tuesday, saying some furloughed federal workers don't deserve to be taken care of and will take care of them in a different way. This comes from Newsmax. And let's see, Trump holding bilateral meeting with, not sure if that's related. I may circle back to this, but let's take a look at this first. President Trump talked tough with the media, so we already went over that. The remark can be seen as a threat to massively reduce the federal workforce through outright firings to cut waste, fraud, and abuse over what Trump has called Democrat-forced government bloat. It depends on who we're talking about, Trump said in the Oval Office on Tuesday when asked about the administration's talk of denying back pay for furloughed workers. The Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but for the most part, we're going to take care of our people, he said. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of. Okay, well, we literally just heard him say that. A new White House memo signaled a potential reversal of a long-standing policy guaranteeing compensation for hundreds of thousands of workers affected by the shutdown. Pressed on the legal requirement to provide back pay, Trump insisted, "I follow the law, and what the law says is correct." He did not clarify what he meant by handling certain workers in a different way, but Trump vowed Americans will find out in 4 to 5 days if the Democrats' government shutdown continues. So the remarks came as the Office of Management and Budget circulated a memo suggesting that back pay is not automatic and would require a new congressional appropriation, despite a 2019 law Trump signed after the longest shutdown in U.S. history, which states that federal employees shall be paid once funding is restored. The memo argued the statute authorizes payment but does not itself appropriate funds, leaving Congress to decide whether to include retroactive pay in any funding bill. The move marks a sharp departure from decades of practice in which furloughed workers, including essential personnel who continue working without pay, are reimbursed once the government reopens. Republicans defended the tactic as a way to increase pressure on Democrats to compromise. Quote, "That should turn up the urgency and necessity of the Democrats doing the right thing here," House Speaker Mike Johnson said in his remarks to the media. With the shutdown now in its 7th day, both Congress and the White House remain locked in a standoff with no agreement in sight and hundreds of thousands of federal employees potentially at risk of losing their jobs. And it goes on. There's a back and forth. They go in with quotes. So I'll link that, newsmax.com, below in the description. And next one from Dale W. Strong. Today marks a full week since the Senate Democrats shut down our government. House GOP has done our job and passed a clean CR to keep things running. Democrats are holding our government hostage and Americans are being impacted. It is time to get back to work. And the House Budget GOP, take a look at their image. They changed it to, "This is a Democrat shutdown." All right. In Florida, the shutdown forced by Senate Democrats has cost the state an estimated $911 million in just the first week. Nearly 3 million SNAP enrollees will see their benefits impacted. Keeping the government shut down helps no one. Reopen the government now. And this is the state that I live in. They actually have a bunch of other states that I believe they posted on their profile. I came across quite a few from Texas. I think Virginia might have been another one. Okay, so there's Colorado, South Carolina, Pennsylvania. So if you're curious, there's Indiana. So they've got other states on here. If you happen to live in one of these states, you can check out House Budget GOP's profile and see if they've got some information on the state that you live in, if you're so curious. So the effects, the state GDP declines by $900 million each week, which is $4 billion a month, plus 155,000 federal workers furloughed or working without pay. 2.9 million SNAP enrollees, including 1.1 million children, are impacted by program disruptions after 30 days. Consumer spending declines by $1.7 billion each month. That's from the House Budget Committee. And we've got this one from Rep. Vern Buchanan. Each week the government remains closed. Florida loses an estimated $900 million in economic output, more than 150,000 federal workers in Florida going without pay. The House passed a clean CR to keep the government open. Now Democrats must join us to reopen the government. So that's just basically the same information. They just break it down into some more detail, which I'll repost, and we'll move on to the next topic. Senate Republicans watch Senator Sanders says the quiet part out loud as he admits that without shutting the government down, Democrats have no leverage. Democrats are using Americans' livelihoods as leverage to get taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens, and this is on CNN. 14
They have had
seconds.
months to negotiate. And you reopen the government, and we lose our leverage, and they say, well, you know, we want this, we want that. No, there has to be an agreement right now. That's what this whole shutdown is about.
Yeah, so it's like the only leverage they have right now. And that's why they're keeping the government shut down for as long as they possibly can, because they really have no other leverage. And that is why they're standing on this health care for illegal immigrants, because they know with Republicans it's a non-starter. So they want to keep the government shut down as long as possible so they could just put it all on Republicans. It's simply because the Republicans control the House and the Senate, and they've got Trump in the Oval Office, and that's what they're going to just run with during the re-election campaign. Because look, what the midterms are coming up next year. There is a lot of damage that's been done to the Democrat Party, needless to say, over the past few months, frankly, over the past couple of years, including the fact that Trump won all 7 swing states and the popular majority. So they see their party slipping. So what they're going to try to do, in my opinion, they're going to keep the government shut down for at least a couple months, maybe a few months, if not even longer. It could even persist into next year. I don't anticipate it. I mean, look, the all-time record was 35 days the government was shut down. The all-time record in America's history. And that was in 2018, of course, because of Trump. And by that, I mean because orange man bad, evil dictator. So we're just going to blame him for it. I think they're going to do that because they're just going to use that for their campaign messaging next year, saying that, oh my God, the Republicans, they shut down our government for 6 months. And look at all the havoc that they've wreaked. And then they're going to run the numbers. How much GDP was lost in the state of Florida, for instance? How much GDP was lost in this state? And they're going to run all of that political messaging to try to convince the voters that it was all the Republicans' fault for the government being closed for months on end. That's my opinion, because what else are they going to run on next year? There's nothing else they can really run on next year, at least nothing that's going to help them in any way. Which, of course, anybody who pays attention for 5 minutes, they know that it's not the Republicans who shut down the government. It is the Democrats. Because the Republicans passed the spending bill. Democrats did not pass the spending bill, which means the Democrats shut down the government. So this is from New York Daily News. President Trump says that Sean Diddy Combs wants a presidential pardon. He wants a pardon. I'm sure he's totally going to get that. I somehow doubt it. I think a lot of people would be pretty pissed off if he actually gave him one. So from the Daily News, President Trump said Monday that Sean Diddy Combs had requested a presidential pardon. His comment coming just days after the convicted rap mogul was sentenced to more than 4 years of prison for transporting his former girlfriends and male commercial sex workers across the country for depraved sex parties distinguished by drug use and violence. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons, Trump told reporters at the White House. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon. And, see... Diddy was sentenced to 50 months in prison. I mean, that's really the gist of it. I mean, it goes on into details about, I'm sure, about what he was convicted of and everything. But here's a quote from Trump. It says, "I'll take a look at it," Trump said. "I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it, but I will speak to the DOJ." Dude, don't give him the time of day. Just don't even fuck with it. It's a waste of time, dude. You got way better things to do. Look, if he was convicted for, or wait, hold on here. Let me just see if I can find that in here. Yeah, see, alleging he violated the Mann Act. He abused the power and control he wielded over the lives of the women he professed to love dearly. No, like his actual charges that he was convicted of, like prostitution, wasn't it? Something about prostitution. It's like, well, engaging in prostitution hardly warrants a 4-year prison sentence. But look, I didn't watch the trial. I don't know the details of it. I know there were only just like 2 or 3 witnesses that testified against him, even though the prosecution said that there were hundreds of women involved in these freak offs. So, I mean, just the fact that they were only able to get 3 or 2, maybe it was only 2 that got that testified during his trial. I don't know. Anyway, from Reuters, China's chip makers bought $38 billion in U.S. and allied tools, a sign that policy is failing, lawmakers find, and that's on Reuters. So it sounds like China's AI production might be in trouble if they're buying $38 billion worth of chips. Oh, come on. Come on, Reuters. I didn't even know that Reuters even paywalled. I had no clue. Let's see if I can, hack my way around this. See if I can get through Reuters. Probably not, but I guess it's worth checking. U.S. lawmakers call for broader bans on chip-making tool sales to China. Chinese firms bought $38 billion in chip-making equipment last year, and industry sales to China declined in part due to new rules, says Tokyo Electron U.S. president. Hey, it looks like my hack worked. San Francisco. Gaps in efforts by the U.S. and allies to restrict China's ability to manufacture advanced computing chips have allowed China to buy nearly $40 billion of sophisticated chip-making gear, according to a bipartisan investigation by U.S. lawmakers. The U.S. Democratic and Republican administrators have tried to restrict China's ability to make microchips, viewing the industry as crucial for national security. But inconsistencies in rules issued by the U.S., Japan, and the Netherlands have led to non-U.S. toolmakers selling to some Chinese firms that U.S. companies could not, according to a report by the U.S. House of Representatives Select Committee on China, seen by Reuters. The committee called for broader bans by the group of allies on chip-making tool sales to China rather than narrower bans of specific Chinese chip makers. Chinese firms last year bought $38 billion in equipment from 5 top semiconductor manufacturing equipment suppliers without breaking the law, a 66% increase from 2022. When many of the tool export restrictions were introduced. It also accounted for nearly 39% of the aggregate sales of applied materials. Lam Research, Tokyo Electron, the report found. So it continues. If you're interested, I'll link that below. The way I opened it, I opened up a private browser. You can do the same thing on Google Chrome. I'm sure Microsoft Edge, you could probably open up a private browser. On Chrome, they call it Go Incognito. So you can just copy the link and paste it into the incognito window, and at least it worked for Reuters. All right. Moving on to drama alert. Drone show goes wrong. What the fuck? And this happened in China, and this is mind-blowing, dude. This looks like fucking Armageddon, man. Look at this. There's no sound, by the way. Oh, there it is. Drones falling from the sky on fire.
Appear to have fireworks attached to them, and videos shared across social media showed fiery debris raining down. Some people were seen using makeshift umbrellas to try and shield themselves from the falling sparks.
Fucking hills are on fire.
The malfunction happened during a celebration of the National Day holiday. Good news, no one was injured when this happened.
Wow, man. Yeah, but the hills are on fire, dude. The land is burning. It's on fire, China. Freaking crazy. Select Committee on China, speak of the devil. Make no mistake, China is committing a genocide in Xinjiang to Xi Jinping and the CCP's authoritarian regime. The people are just a tool of the state. Freedom does not exist. It comes as no surprise that China is once again a world leader in human trafficking.
Chairman, you say China's genocide of ethnic and religious minorities in Xinjiang is a human trafficking nightmare where hundreds of thousands of innocent people are imprisoned and forced into labor camps.
You're exactly right, and it's been documented over and over again by various administrations, Republican and Democrat, as well as people throughout the world. So this is not some hypothetical. This is happening. And unfortunately, sometimes our businesses have supply chains that are dependent on that. And we need to strongly enforce the Uyghur Protection Act that protects our companies from having supply chains based on slave labor. But there's a very different viewpoint on human dignity when it comes to China. It's a very utilitarian thing where the people are the instrument of the state rather than the government securing its citizens' rights. And so as long as that
House
continues,
China Select Committee Chair.
We're going to see these kinds of human trafficking and repressive activities towards people both in China as well as around the world, because we've seen them leverage this against dissidents here in America and around the world.
All right. And look at the Dow Jones, man, 47,000. It just keeps rocking and rolling, even though the government shut down. The rich keep getting richer. So, yeah, so like the the House, they've got their own CCP committee, and it's that select committee. And I've talked about, yeah, here it is, the Select Committee on China. This is their profile. Select Committee on China led by Chairman Rep. Molinar. And I've shared posts with regard to them a few times whenever it comes across my desk. Anyway, DOE, the DOE Office of Science, Department of Energy, quantum computers and sensors could radically change computing, security, and discovery science, but they wouldn't have been possible without the work of John Clark, Michael Deverett, and John M. Martinez. They received the 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics for their research in Berkeley Lab. Very cool. Yeah, man, quantum computers. I can only imagine. So, U.S. DOT rapid response, in case the video wasn't enough. So these are images of the Pacific Palisades. Supposedly, this was just recently taken. And it's just still in ruins. And just still looks like an absolute nightmare. It's seen straight out of, I don't know, Mad Max or some shit. So California still, here, let me make this a little bigger. So this is from Secretary Sean Duffy. California still not rebuilt after the LA wildfires, but you have time to watch Fox and Friends. Where did you watch it? From the French Laundry. And he's responded to Gavin Newsom, which he said, no air traffic controllers for 6 hours at Burbank Airport yesterday. Massive delays, flights canceled. But Sean, it's time to do Fox and Friends and complain about how a governor hurt his feelings. Yeah, whatever. Spare me. Anyway, so I didn't really care about what the video that he was responding to. I just wanted to make this apparent that they really haven't done much with the Pacific Palisades. And I'm assuming this was a segment, but I'm not seeing any audio. So there's no audio on this. All right, so it's just an aerial video. But still, man, like look at that. The pool's just sitting there with stagnant water. But they don't have a mosquito problem in California, right? That's the first thought that I have. You know, given where I live, if it's stagnant water, it's breeding ground for mosquitoes. All right. However, to be fair, it doesn't say exactly when this video was filmed. So I'm assuming that it was recent. Like within recent weeks or whatever. Hold on, just... Okay, yeah, whatever. They're fighting back and forth with regard to transportation. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. Department of Energy. President Trump is unlocking America's access to critical minerals by approving the Ambler Road. President Trump is securing access to one of the largest undeveloped copper-zinc mineral belts in the world. This is from Alaska Beacon. Yeah, I mean, President Trump, dude, he's opening up all kinds of shit with regard to minerals. I know they're doing uranium mining now. They're also doing lithium mining. I think the lithium mine is in Nevada, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's in Nevada. It's like it's the largest lithium deposit in the continental, or in North America, in all of North America. So among other things that they're developing, I know there's a bunch of mines in Utah. Utah's got a lot of resources. So Trump approves appeal for Ambler Road project, reversing Biden administration's rejection. The proposed road, being developed by Alaska's state-owned investment bank, would open access to a mining region up in northwest Alaska, even though he's kind of pointing to East Alaska, but I don't know. Anyway, so President Trump, he signed an order that overturns a decision by Biden to cancel a 211-mile mining road through Alaska's Brooks Range by denying a right-of-way permit. Action removes a major hurdle for the project, but developers would still need to overcome lawsuits and opposition from environmental and tribal groups. They would also need approval from NANA, N-A-N-A, and Doyen Limited, two Alaskan Native regional corporations who own land in the road's path. So, sounds like eminent domain. Ambler Road, planned by the state of Alaska's Development Bank and supported by state officials in Alaska's congressional delegation, would link the Dalton Highway with a mineral-rich region of northwest Alaska, providing access to the mining of rare minerals needed for batteries and high-technology manufacturing. So I will link this. I'm just curious to see if they have an actual map. Damn, this is a long article. No, they don't have a map. I would have liked to have seen the map. Well, hold on here. They got a couple of links. So, limited negotiations. That's just another article that it links to. There's a lawsuit involved from 2021. All right. Well, maybe I missed it up here at the very top. Order, decision, Ambler Road. Okay, so maybe this is it. Ambler Road. AmblerAccess.org. I just want to see if they got a map, man. I just want to see what the map looks like. You know, they couldn't have they couldn't have dropped a Google Maps on here and just given us like the proposed road, exactly where it goes. I guess not. So, anyway, because I opened it, I'll link it. It'll be below if you want to take a look at this website. Maybe you happen to live in Alaska, or you're just genuinely curious. All right, from Reuters, this is 21 hours ago. I am going to take a quick look and see if there's any update to this, because this was almost 24 hours ago. More than 200 remaining trekkers trapped by a snowstorm over the weekend near the eastern face of Mount Everest in Tibet are being evacuated, a source familiar with the situation said. Of course, it's going to probably paywall me again, because it is Reuters, so I'm going to prepare. And there it goes. And let's see if the trick will work a second time, which it just might. Or maybe it won't, but it looks like it might. All right, so the blizzard trapped at least 550 trekkers. Oh, see, it's starting to recognize that I'm finding ways around it. 550 trekkers near Everest in Tibet. So what was this? The day before yesterday, the story came out that there were 1,000. There were 1,000 people that were trapped up there, but it looks like it was overinflated, that 550 were trapped up there at some point. Since Sunday, about 350 hikers have been led to safety. Snowstorms also hit Xinjiang, Qinghai, Gansu, and western China. More than 200 trekkers are still stranded in freezing temperatures near the eastern face of Everest in Tibet. They're expected to be evacuated by Tuesday, a source familiar with the situation said, after unexpectedly strong snowstorms tore across western China. Yeah, and it's the same storm system that hit up in the Himalayas around the Nepal and India border, which caused landslides. I think it killed like 9 people, something like that. The flooding and the landslides did. So here, let me just take a look and see if I can get an update. I think I'll just go the easy route and just throw it into Grok and see if I can get an answer on this. And see what it gives me. And let me just drop this over there. All right. And let me just go to this one from the GOP. Early voting is open in California. Vote no on Prop 50. Protect fair, citizen-led redistricting and stop politicians from rigging the system. And this is from the California Republican Party. Stop scrolling. Go grab your ballot, open it, mark no on Prop 50, and drop it in the mail right now. So let me just drop this back here. I'm going to crowd up my screen a little bit. All right, so I'll give this a quick play.
Go grab your special election ballot that was mailed to you, open the envelope, and mark it no on Prop 50, and mail it in now. Then you can go back online and tell your friends to do the same. Or you can share this video.
Or you could share the video. Drop it in, Prop 50. Stop rigged elections now. And I don't live in California, but if you live in California, the Republicans in California, they're telling you to get out there and vote. Vote on Prop 50, so you better get out there and do it. Better get out there and get it mailed, or go out and cast your ballot as soon as you possibly can. So it says here that, yes, over 580 trekkers stranded by a blizzard near Mount Everest on the Tibetan side have been guided to safety, with the final group of 12 reaching rendezvous points by October 7th and receiving emergency supplies. No casualties were reported from the incident, although one unrelated death occurred on nearby Mira Peak. So that's great news, fantastic news that they all were able to get off of Everest during that blizzard, because, yeah, man, the way they were talking, it sounded like it was going to be some like all-time record, that potentially dozens of people were going to freeze to death up there, because they said tents were collapsing, for crying out loud. Like, there was so much weight of the snow. And so this is the shutdown counter: 6 days, 22 hours, 1 minute, 10 seconds. That's how long the government's been shut down for. So I'm just going to probably keep the ticker up in the right-hand corner of the screen and just leave it there until maybe eventually someday they might reopen the government. We'll just have to see. So anyway, again, every article that you saw in the video, it will be down in the description. And if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me if you subscribe. And I will drop a new show every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, and everyone else. I also post daily episodes on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.